We will continue. So those who are not here, kindly let them join. Tell them to join. Okay. We still have 2 minutes. Please tell them to join. I believe you can see the screen.
Yes, sir.
And you can see the content.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's time, and I believe you are ready. You have your pens ready. Or if possible, you can just go to your WhatsApp and you can start from there. When you press one dot, then you write the answer. If it's A, you write. Then you write enter. Okay. Then when you type enter, when you press enter, it will take you to number 2. The numbering will be done for you. You don't need to type 1. Some of you did it horizontally, but you just do it vertically and then send. So you can go to my WhatsApp like you are chatting me. Then you write 1, full stop, then space. You can write the whether A, B, or C. After that, you write enter. It will arrange everything. The numbers will appear by themselves. You wouldn't have to type the numbers yourself. So do it that way. I think that will be faster and easier for you. So as soon as we finish, there will be no time for mine is not ready and all that. As soon as we finish, you just push it to me, and then that will be all. Okay, are you ready? Are you ready?
Sir, please wait. Let's get let's start chatting you before we start. Please, do you get me, sir?
You say you want to start chatting me.
Yes, you said we should go to WhatsApp and be in your DM. So
yeah, so you just have to be there. You don't need to send me any hi or anything.
yes,
so you just go there. That's what you are talking about. Then
yes, some of us don't have your number, so we are now trying to get the number before we start.
Oh, so which number did you send the last one? Or you were not here?
I was not here, sir.
Okay. All right. Then the number is 0241037744. 0241037744. So you let's say in 3 minutes time you'll get going. Any other person with any other challenge?
Sir, please say 0241
037744.
037744.
Yes. I believe you are ready now.
Yes, sir, please.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's start. You have 1 minute for a question. So when I start rolling, this time around, you will not go back. So please make sure you read within 1 minute and you respond so that we can make progress. Okay, so start work. Sorry, Daniel. We are working. We are working. So, fortunately, you came late. That's why you.
Yes, please. Well
That's why.
noted.
Yeah, that's why I can't hear. So let's finish. We'll finish soon. Then we continue.
All right, thank you, sir.
Okay, that is the end. Thank you for your attention. Now, we are not going to solve it now. Maybe when we get a break and we come back, we may look at it. But send your response, send your answers to me right now because we are done with it. Yes, Antonio, your hand is up.
Doc, please, good afternoon. I just came. I'm very, very sorry. My network was disturbing me, so I may not be able to. I'm just able to connect to the internet. So I'm sorry that I may not be able to send my work.
Okay, but
I'm saying that where I am currently, it's a local village, and the network system is very, very bad. So unless I will trek for about 1 hour 30 minutes for network, and so me moving from my place to where the network is. By the time I just open the app, and I saw it's okay, stop work. Okay, thank you.
okay.
So,
This
sir, please.
yes, who is speaking?
Yeah, this is Juliana. Sir,
Go ahead.
please, can you go over again?
No, sorry about that.
Yeah, we couldn't join because of it. It was light out here.
Sorry about that.
Sir,
Because of the yes.
please, I also joined late. So what should I do?
Yes, so as I was saying, because of the network issues, these are series of non-scoring tests for you to see or to test yourself whether you have studied the material and you'll be able to answer the questions that may come in your quiz and exams. So it is not something that I'm scoring you. You will not lose any mark for not doing it, but it is preparatory. It is important that if you take part in it, you benefit from it. So maybe you just have to join next time because that is all I can say for now.
Please, sir, can we have the questions later?
The questions are not meant to be given to students. So that is the only loss you will have, because maybe you not have opportunity to see the questions again. Yes, for that one there. That's the disadvantage you may have. So please try try and join the next one early so that you can have the opportunity of seeing the questions. But they are strictly related to the materials I've given to you. So you may then have to read more. Okay. So let's begin. We are done with Unit 2. We want to look at Unit 3 and Unit 4 today. So today we'll be moving at a very, very fast pace. Because next week we have to look at the accounting curriculum and see some few issues. We will do that next week. So the Unit 3, Unit 4, you have to finish it today. If we're not good to finish, we may have to finish it next week before we move to the final part. Okay, so I believe you can see the screen now.
Yes, please.
Okay, so let's let me okay. So let's begin. We want to talk about curriculum development. Curriculum development. Every curriculum is developed with certain framework in mind. And we have already looked at some of the issues in terms of how the curriculum is designed. For curriculum development is a bigger umbrella. Under this umbrella, we may have the curriculum design. Okay. So we look at the last unit we talked about. We look at curriculum design and the forms of curriculum design. We didn't talk much, go into detail about curriculum design. However, we want to look at curriculum design into detail as an umbrella. But I said the umbrella we can talk about curriculum development, we can talk about curriculum design. We also talk about curriculum planning. All of these fall under the curriculum design. But we want to look at, in developing the curriculum as a practice, what do we do and what do we go through? Okay, so we will look at curriculum development and we explain the general curriculum development process. Then we will talk about Tyler's model and Wheeler's model. These educational experts have developed models when it comes to developing the curriculum. So we look at their models, and where we need to critique, we look at that. Okay, so we will look at the concept of curriculum development, talk about general curriculum development processes that we go through, talk about concept of curriculum development models, importance of curriculum development models. We will also discuss curriculum development models by specific models. Then we look at the comparison of the curriculum development models. So that is what we will be doing under curriculum development. Now, curriculum development has been defined by Marsh and Willis as a collective and intentional process or activity directed at beneficial curriculum change. This simply means that one man cannot sit down in his room and say, I'm an education specialist. I'm accounting education specialist, and therefore I have come up with a curriculum. And so we are going to reform our education, and I'm bringing a new curriculum. So it is collective. Collective by which people? By stakeholders of education. And we have looked at several factors that contribute to the curriculum. Now, it must also be intentional. There should be a purpose for it. You are doing it with a purpose in mind. And so you have an objective to achieve. And it's a process, or it can be a process or an activity. So curriculum development goes on even when we are implementing the curriculum. It's a process because we see feedback through evaluation and then we do something. Then it can also be an activity. We are actually sitting down to develop a curriculum. The direction, the main purpose for curriculum development here, as defined the definition, is to ensure there is what beneficial curriculum change. Because curriculum actually exists. So if you are developing a curriculum, it means we are bringing a change into the system. So it should be a beneficial change. We should not have a new curriculum that will not meet our current need. The curriculum we are developing now should be one that will bring change to the old one, and it should be beneficial to the users. So what factors are we supposed to consider when developing curriculum? We will look at the factors in two ways. We are first going to look at the internal factors, which is those who are directly impacted by the curriculum. And these parties are very, very crucial because whatever negativity that the curriculum brings comes to them directly. So we want to look at that first. One is the learner. Who is the learner? The learner is the person for whom the curriculum has been prepared for or developed for. So the curriculum has been developed for the learner. When we talk about learner, we are simply referring to students. And at our level, we are talking about senior high school accounting or business studies learners. So when you are developing a curriculum, accounting as a subject is first studied at the SHS level. So if you are developing a curriculum, you have to look at the nature of the learners. What kind of learners are going to study this curriculum so that you can tailor the curriculum to meet their level in terms of their abilities. If you are developing a curriculum for SHS level, who are going to meet accounting for the first time, and you start using some terms that may be complex and difficult for them to understand, then there's a problem. That notwithstanding, it does not mean that you have to break the curriculum down to the extent, the content down to the extent that the professional language, okay, or the professional literacy that a beginner in accounting education must have will be missing. So if you are learning accounting for the first time, debit and credit are the same as debit and credit. The language of business is accounting. And therefore, all the languages in accounting that the beginner must know and appreciate and use often must be there. But the general writing would be simple, but the main terminology that are used in business must be kept. So you can't teach accounting in simple English by saying that I've removed the terms, accounting terms, and I'm teaching it using the normal terms. So that you say, okay, debit, when you say debit, you are talking about left. So you have abandoned the debit and now you are using left side of the account. Then credit, you say right side. And you are teaching the learners with left, right. The learner will forget about debit and credit. And that is a big problem for accounting education. Then 2, the nature of the subject matter. The nature of the subject matter. Now, the subject that you are going to teach is accounting. And according to the definition of Wallace's explanation, it's a subject matter is the content of the curriculum and choices about what subject matter to include within the curriculum, and are also choices about what to leave out. So accounting, yes, if you look at the senior high school accounting syllabus, especially the old one, you see that they try to capture a whole lot of things. From the beginning, double entry to company account, and even public sector accounting with ICT in accounting, all of them are treated. However, you will see clearly that the content is not very deep because it is for beginners in accounting. It is the foundation. So you give the learners the foundation if they are foundational learners. But the moment they step foot at the university, then we have to increase the level. Okay. So some in a university first year accounting business studies student, all of them will read accounting. And the accounting they do is just like what they did in SHS for 3 years. But you will see some level of difficulty, increase in the level of difficulty in the content we give to them at the university level. Okay, so we know they have the foundation, but we still introduce them to the foundation. But at the same time, we increase the difficulty level a bit for the learners. And that is what you're talking about, the nature of the subject matter. So the changing nature of the society requires that the subject matter be modified from time to time to meet the challenges of contemporary society. So in those days, ethical issues were not purely emphasized in accounts education, but now ethical issues are very important issue that every accounting curriculum at the university, ethics are featured. And when you look at the international accounting education standards, universities are supposed to teach ethics. And so in the new curriculum, which has been introduced at the SHS level, the new curriculum has ethics as part of the syllabus. Now let's talk about the teacher. The teacher. According to Eisner, the teacher is the one who will have a general guide of topics, or the teacher is the one who is supposed to impact the knowledge onto the learners, and so he's supposed to guide them. The teacher is actually the one who knows the subject, and he must know more about the subject than the learner. Okay, so and it is the teacher who will look at the curriculum and sometimes decide to teach certain things before teaching another topic. So the teacher here is the one who actually sequence the topics, the content that needs to be delivered. The teacher will prepare the instructional design, which is the lesson or the learning plan to use. So a general set of, he also has, you set aims or objectives, specific objectives. Okay, and the teacher know the textbooks that they may have to use, and you will get the instructional resources. Also, the teacher and learning resources, the teacher has them. So the teacher is very crucial, okay, so that he can effectively organize and plan the curriculum to suit that level and the background of the learner in the classroom. So even though the curriculum, we are looking at the background of the learner, but the teacher is the one who actually simplified the curriculum for the learner. Okay, break it down into smaller pieces of knowledge to be easily assimilated by the learner. So that is for the teacher. Very, very crucial. So apart from the three things that we have considered, there are various approaches and various stages to the description of the curriculum development process. So for the purpose, I think, let me include something here. Something is left out. Something has been jammed here. Okay, you let me chip in this. You can write it down, include it in the slides before I send it to you. So these are the internal. Okay, now we want to talk about the external. So I will talk about the external, and then so external factors that need to be considered during curriculum development. One is contemporary society. The curriculum is made for the society. Curriculum is made for the society. And so each society sees itself to distinct from other societies. Therefore, in planning a curriculum for a particular society, it is very necessary for us to consider the needs of the society, the aspiration of the society, and the problems of the society. Okay. So in explaining why children from some social and economic groups tend to perform better than others in the classroom or in school. For example, like if a certain society, you can see that the learners are doing better than others. The reason hinges on several factors, and which may be unique to every society. So even though issues bordering on morality, such as dishonesty, insincerity, corruption, and among others, we consider them as social problems. Okay. Almost in every society. So it cuts across every society. Despite that, every society has its own peculiar needs, which it expects the school to address. So according to TOSA, school systems in all cultures seek to fit people to their surrounding societies. And therefore, it behoves on the curriculum developer to study the needs of the society. So, to prepare students for participation in our democratic society, a teacher may have to consider how well his or her choice of teaching and management strategies foster critical thinking and active political participation. Okay, so we consider contemporary society. The society that we have now, we call contemporary society. We are past the stage of modern society. In the ancient days, they used to talk about, we refer to it as traditional or traditional society, and so on and so forth. Now, the next thing we have to consider is psychology of learning. Psychology of learning, very, very important. You have to understand the psychology of those people you have this curriculum for. So the curriculum planners in the process of planning the curriculum are greatly influenced by the psychology of learning. It is a very important factor because issues regarding individual differences among learners with regards to age, sex, social and economic backgrounds, cognitive development, and other factors are well understood when the principles underlying such differences are brought to bear in explaining human behavior. So psychology simply is the interpretation and explanation of behavior in mental or physical terms. So accounting education is for senior high school level learners who are around 15 years and above. If I develop curriculum for such individuals, we must understand the psychological needs of such learners or the psychological level of such learners. Okay, so that it will not be too difficult for them, and also it will not be too easy for them. So that is one fundamental reason why we may see that learners, if they are not well trained, they will struggle at the SHS level, the accounting curriculum. If they are well prepared, they will be able to acquire, or they'll be able to understand the content of the curriculum. Then another thing to consider is financial priorities and constraints. Money is a big issue. Funding is quite an issue, and therefore it must be addressed in developing curriculum. Now we have a new curriculum at SHS level where they refer to something they call 21st century skills, which include ICT, communication skills, and so on and so forth. But the question is, do we have the finances to supply the needed ICT tools for the implementation of the curriculum? That is a financial issue, and it must be addressed when developing the curriculum. So the curriculum process actually involved such issues as we need to conduct needs assessment and do what's referred to as situational analysis. We need to also plan the implementation of the curriculum and also look at evaluation of the curriculum. All of these activities are done under curriculum development. We must also make provision for requirements for successful preparation of the curriculum. So substantial amount of money is required to develop a curriculum. Now, according to Austin and Levine, of the top 5 problems when it comes to ranking of problems associated with curriculum development, if you look at the top 5 problems that were ranked by school superintendents in 1991, 3 were related to school finance. Okay, lack of financial resources, overcrowded facilities like we have in Ghana, and increased property taxes. So that is, even the third one is basically for private schools. So they explain that because most school-related costs have increased more rapidly than inflation in recent years, the business of schooling in places like Ghana has financial trouble. So fundamentally, these are some of the external factors. Another one I'll mention is government policy. Government policy, we talked about politics, the role of politics in curriculum. So policy of government can also influence the curriculum. Okay. So knowledge of the formal organization of schools and how they are governed is important to people who work in schools, especially curriculum planners. Okay. So there are times that government policy makes it mandatory for the inclusion of certain programs in the school curriculum, right? So, for example, there was a guideline of state policy which was drawn somewhere in America, which actually resulted, there was assembly, okay, that happened in Republic of Indonesia, and out of that assembly came an enactment, okay, and that enactment was to the effect that religious education should be inserted into the curriculum of schools, from primary schools up to state universities. Okay, so such a policy, you definitely have to to influence the way schools will be organized. So a policy of this nature will require that educational programs be redesigned, new teachers trained in religious education, and facilities put in place to enhance effective implementation. The next we want to talk about is the general curriculum development process. So I will insert the aspect that are not part of this slides, and then I'll forward it to you. So we are going to talk about general curriculum development process that we go through in developing a curriculum. So for the purpose of this discussion, we shall consider 6 stages in the curriculum development process. And these stages include situation analysis. Okay. So when we look at situation analysis, all that we are doing is let me attend to something right now. Okay. So situational analysis and then or needs assessment. We will just basically look at the situation. What does the society want? What does the society need? Okay, so that we try to see whether the curriculum will meet the needs of the society. That is all we are going to do. So data is collected from society to see the needs of the society. That's what the curriculum expert will do. Then there will be selection of aims, goals, and objectives. Then we will look at aim of the curriculum. What goal will the curriculum address? Then what objectives are we going to achieve with this curriculum? We set them, okay? So we do that. Then we select the content that will be taught or content for the curriculum. Then we also select the learning experiences, okay? How we are going to teach the curriculum, what we are going to do to implement, what the teachers will be doing, what experience will learners go through to be able to absorb the curriculum. Then integration of learning experience and content. Then we put the learning experience and the content together because you teachers teach the content. The methods that they adopt, the pedagogical strategies that they adopt goes with the content. There won't be any pedagogical strategy if there are no content. So here we have to integrate the two. So you can, as a teacher, you talk about content knowledge, then we talk about pedagogical knowledge, then we talk about pedagogical content knowledge. So the teacher has the content and he also knows how to teach the content. How to teach the content is not just about telling the student the content, but it's about the approach that makes learning easier for learners. Okay, what approaches makes learning easier that you will not struggle so much to teach it, or you will not teach and at the end of the day learners will say, I did not understand. So if everything goes according to plan, it means that, for example, the learners are the right age, they have the right ability, the content is right for them, then you are adopting or you are using the right teaching techniques, then the learner should be able to understand. Okay, so that's what the curriculum is saying. Then after that, we have to evaluate the curriculum and see whether everything, all these things that we have done, we did it right. So situational analysis is what I have talked about here, and we can go ahead and read. the importance of situational analysis is to ensure that the placement of the school curriculum within the context of the society for which the educational program is being designed. So the curriculum, school exists in the society, and the school exists for the society. Therefore, situational analysis will help us to know the context of the society, okay, and what curriculum will fit them. Situational analysis helps to formulate. It's actually supposed to be situational, right? Situational analysis. Situational analysis helps to formulate realistic educational objectives, policies, and programs. Yes. So if we know the situation, the context of the society, then it will help us to know, develop realistic. Not that you look at white people society and then you develop a curriculum and come and dump it on us. Look at the Ghanaian society. So the curriculum must emanate from the society, not from any other place. Situational analysis is necessary for effective evaluation of the curriculum. So it is based on the society that the curriculum is developed. So we can evaluate the curriculum to see if it is meeting the societal needs. And it also ensures continuity in the curriculum development process. So if there are changes in the curriculum, in the society, then we can do something about it. So there's that assurance that there'll be continuity. Okay. Second one is determination and formulation of aims, goals, and objectives. Aims are fundamentally, they are very broad. They are too big for us to handle. But normally, they are in the policy document. That is not what is given to the teacher, but it's a policy document. This is the aim of education in Ghana. We have aim for basic education. We have aim for lower primary, upper primary, GHS, SHS. We have educational aim for that. So the curriculum must have a broad aim, okay? And it is the statement of intent which are supposed to give direction to education in the country. Then goals may be referred to as at the institutional level or general intent. Okay, institutional level or general intent of a particular level of education. So we have educational goal. So what is the educational goal for basic education? Educational goal for secondary, educational goal for university education. But wait, aim. General aim of education in Ghana is stated, and it is in the policy document. This is the aim of education in Ghana. Then the goal, basically every level of the education. Okay, so lower primary, upper primary. If we're looking at what lower primary education is supposed to achieve for us, so at the SHS level, accounting education, what is the aim, the goal? Okay, so from Form 1 SHS to senior high school, Form 3, writing WASI, what's the goal of education? Then we can situate accounting curriculum into that. So when we are developing the accounting curriculum, we have in mind the goal of education in the senior high school level. And so we prepare curriculum that will fit into that. Objectives, they describe the end of an instructional unit. We use the objective to describe the ends of an instructional unit. Okay, ends simply means the achievement, what we need to achieve, or the objective, the what we need to achieve. So that is it. So the difference among the three terms, goal, aims and objectives. Okay, depends on the level of specificity of educational purpose. So that is what Wheeler classified as ultimate. The ultimate has to do with the aim, overall aim of education or curriculum. Then mediate talks about the goal. Okay, and then the proximate is about the objective. And it depends on the broad or how broad or narrow they appear to achieve their goals. Now, what are the functions of educational objectives? So objectives in education helps to determine the direction that its desired growth should take. Okay, the growth level, where should we focus our attention in terms of growing? Okay, then we also talk about objectives provide the basis for the selection of content and learning experiences. So the curriculum, you see that we are talking about aims, goals, objectives, and the objective is the lowest level because that one is very specific. So in the syllabus, we write learning objectives. This modern curriculum, they say objective, because the contemporary curriculum we have, they say objectives are seen from the teacher's point of view. So they say don't say objective. But if you say objective, it's like what you, the teacher, you want to achieve. So they say learning outcome, which is what the learner will learn, okay, at the end of the lesson. So if you use the objective base, then what the teacher will teach. Okay, now learner-centered, what the learner will actually study, or what the learner will be able to do at the end of the instruction. So it's captured by the objective. We are looking at it from education point of view. As educators, as teachers, you have objective. That is what we are looking at. Okay. So, and then objective provide the basis for selection of content and learning experience. It is based on what you want to achieve in terms of what you want the learners to learn, that you bring the content. So you want learners to be able to prepare balance sheet, income statement. That is why the income statement and the statement of financial position is taught at the SHS level. That's the content. Then, as a teacher, how are you going to teach that so that it will be easier for the learner to grasp? Objective influence the organization of content and the learning. So after selection, so that we have selected the content must be organized. Okay, both the content and the learning experiences, they are organized. Okay, if you just select the content that you have not done, so that is why some teachers, even at the SHS level, they teach one topic, they move to another place, go and teach another topic. Some of them don't understand why they should teach the topic in a certain systematic sequence. Because if you take any subject, you realize that there is some kind of continuity in terms of when you finish with one thing, there's linkage among the topics that you are going to treat. Okay, so that's why the combination of financial accounting and cost accounting will be quite a little bit challenging if they put them together. So what do I teach after this one? There's a linkage. If you don't take it, you'll not be able to link it up. That is the organization of the content. Okay, so it has to be organized in a certain direction. And then even within one topic itself, the scope, I mean, the areas you can teach also matters. So objectives provide a basis evaluation, a basis for evaluation of the effectiveness of instruction and the progress of the other aspects of the years. If you have objective, then you can measure the actual performance and see if you are achieving it or not. So the evaluation, simply you are comparing the actual learning that has taken place, compare it with what was expected to take place, and that if there's any discrepancy, we have to do what? We have to take corrective action to address it. Now, the next stage is called selection of objectives. So you have to select objectives. Tyler identifies 3 main sources of educational objectives. Where can we get the objectives from? So when we are setting objectives for every topic in accounting, as curriculum experts, we look at the learner. If the objective is too huge for the learner, because you know yourself, and then every year you go for 31st night, and then you go for and do what at the church? You do resolution. This year is my year of victory. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. If you don't look at yourself and where you have gotten to in life currently, you'll be saying those things without necessarily thinking it was possible. Okay, so you set objective. Learners should achieve this. And you are looking at the learner, the ability of the learners. 15 years child. Are you sure that child can? So the objectives are set based fundamentally from the learner's ability, what they can do. Okay. So if you set any overambitious objective, you end up blaming the learners that they are not good. So make sure the objective is well. So the new curriculum, for example, the learning outcomes, they are even stated in the learning planner. And you see clearly what the learner should be able to do. Then the society, we get the objective from the society because it is based on what we are able to achieve in terms of objective that will bring the influence to the society. What does the society need? What kind of knowledge will the society need to move to progress? So we take the objective from the society as well. Then the subject area. Yeah, so the subject area in terms of here, it is accounting. So if you take the accounting, you are setting objective for learners. The subject is so broad. Accounting at the university, we teach principles of accounting, then we teach intermediate accounting, and you teach financial reporting, and you teach branches of accounting, auditing, taxation, and all those things. So now you want to teach accounting SHS, beginners. So take objectives that are very fundamental for their future growth in the accounting education. So these are 3 objectives. Selection of the objectives. Tyler has given us 3 sources. Sources here, we are talking about places that we can look at when setting the objectives. So in terms of the learner, when it comes to looking at the objective from the learner's perspective, you have to look at the needs of the learner or the needs of the society. Look at the aspiration of the learner or the aspiration of the society. Look at aptitude, aptitude, the intellectual power, the strength that the child has at that stage. That's why the psychology is very important. If you know how people develop in terms of when they grow, what level can you introduce what to them, then it will help. And then attitudes of the learner. Then entry behavior of the learner, what the student know. By the time they get to senior high school, Form 1, they have done some mathematical equations, change of subject, they've done a bit of trigonometry, they've done some. So their mind, you know that they are developed to a certain level. Their mind, they have done science and all those things. So introducing it to them may not be a problem. Then educational gap of the learner. So you look at the level of the education of the learner. Then you select the objectives. Then society, you look at the needs. Okay, in terms of specific subjects like accounting, you look at the societal needs for accounting. We have few accountants. Do we need accountant? Yes, we need accountant. The society needs accountant. Then go ahead and treat accountant. Senior high school business studies is not basically for accountant, but I mention accountant because it is the subject that you may end up teaching. So you have to look at the business and everything, the need of the society. Then we also talk about the aspirations, okay? Economic growth, the business, the society want economic growth. They want income to increase for them. So what kind of content will help society to grow in that regard? Then we talk about contemporary problems, okay, challenges we face in contemporary situations, societies. So AIDS, corruption, insecurity. You look at the societal problem, and then you come up with a subject or content that will help address this problem. So those days in UCC, in the universities, we have AIDS, HIV/AIDS as a course. Now, entrepreneurship is a course that every student must take at the university level. Subject area. So subject specialists, they determine what is supposed to be studied at a particular point in time. So that one, you leave that for subject specialists. Like accounting education specialists. And then you also look at professional accountants. And you address that. Personal accountants. So then, having looked at this process, you look at screens, okay? So you realize that we talk about the psychology issue. The psychology issue has to do under the children. For example, we said you should know the level of development stages in the learners. But after we have seen these three things that we talked about, right? The process, we have to take the objective that we have come about through a certain screening. So like when you have your net, our ladies and those who cook a lot, we have what they call, what do you people call it? Siphon net or whatever. Is that what you call it? Those who prepare palm oil soup, palm nut soup. Are you there?
Yes, a colander or the trainer.
Yes.
What do you call it? The thing you used to
Colander.
colander. Okay,
Yes.
okay, yes, yeah. That is a professional term, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay. So you sieve out the debris, the waste, even small particles that may find their way. Some people they do it like 3 or 4 times, okay, to make sure that those little particles are out, so they get only liquid aspect. So in this case, the same thing. We have identified so many objectives, and we have to take the objectives through the screen. Okay, so this is a process by which we separate the desirable from those that are not desirable. The desirable objectives are separated from those that are not desirable. So we use 2 approaches in screening the objectives. One is the philosophy of education. So we look at the philosophy of Ghana's education. What's philosophy? And you know we have talked about philosophies. So if you look at Ghana's education, you may look at it and say, okay, based on how curriculum and everything we are doing, what philosophy underpins our education? So based on the philosophy of education of Ghana, then we will read out those undesirable objectives. Okay. And then the psychology of education, we look at psychology of education in terms of personal development. Some objectives may not meet the level of the learners. You talk about the learners' growth, ability, and all those things. So we use that to also read out undesirable objectives. So the screens, very important. Psychology of education and philosophy of education, they are used as screens to sieve out undesirable objectives. Okay. So let's look at ways of stating instructional objectives. Instructional objectives. So when you look at this curriculum, current curriculum, you see learning outcome. They talk about content, something. What's the name? Those, the content that needs to be taught, the area, focus area. Talk about focus area, and then they tell you the objectives. Okay, but objectives can be set in many ways, and these are some of them. We have behavioral objectives. So that defines or identifies both the kind of behavior to be developed in the learner and the content area of life in which this behavior is to operate. Behavioral objectives should mention the terminal behavior expected of the learner. Okay, so what is the learner's behavior is the learner expected to exhibit at the end of the lesson? Okay, so you put that out there. Or behavioral change. What change in behavior do you expect to see in learners after the instructional period? Then it should indicate the conditions under which the behavior is to occur. Under what condition will the behavior occur? This normally people don't write in their lesson plan. Under what condition? So you actually supposed to state the condition. If given, okay, something to separate. Now, sometimes students say you have taught them this and you are assessing them on this. So let us understand the condition. Okay, how do I put it? So I need a classical example, but it's not coming. It's not coming. So for example, if in accounting you have giving learners an assignment, you are teaching income statement, okay, and you have mixed up the item, let's say income statement and balance sheet, and you have mixed up the items. You didn't prepare trial balance, but you have mixed them up. Let's say you taught them using the trial balance and you told them that this one is debit, this one is credit, this one debit, this one credit. But these learners do not know how to separate them. So you have to state the condition under which they can do it. Maybe if you put that, if you say learners can prepare income statement and balance sheet, that is not enough. Under what condition? When given what? Let's say trial balance. I believe that is understanding, right?
Yes, please.
Okay. So there should be a condition because the learners may not be able to prepare all kinds of income statement and financial position, statement of financial position. So we state the conditions that you taught the learners that, okay, I've taught you using these items, these basic items with a trial balance. So you have to state the condition. Else, if you put the learner in a different condition, he might not be able to answer the question. So in behavioral objective, you state the condition. We don't normally do that. Some says learners will be able to mention 5 elements of the financial statement. That one does not require you to state the condition because they are specific to that. They don't need condition, but there are certain things like preparation of the financial statement and so on and so forth. It should be clear because if you put another certain questions, there, they may not be able to answer. That does not mean that you, the teacher, didn't teach, but you taught with certain conditions, and that's the condition you must state. Okay. All right. It should define the acceptable standard of performance. Yes. And you must also state the acceptable level of performance. So, like we are saying, learners should be able to mention 5 or 3 or 2. So that's acceptable level of performance. So if you have 5 items, maybe you can say learners should be able to mention 3 elements of the financial statement. If the learner is able to mention the 3, that's the standard performance. He has done well. If the learner is not able to mention 3, that is below standard. If the learner is able to mention 5, it means he has gone beyond the standard. So you have to leave room for them to go beyond standard. So the standard will not be so high that they will struggle to achieve, even if they work hard. So it is expected that they must be smart. The objective you are setting should be specific. We should be able to measure it. And learners, if they really work hard, they should be able to attain it. And it should be realistic. Don't set above, too high above certain level. And then you are teaching within certain time. So time bound also comes in here. Whatever you're doing is within time. Then expressive outcomes. This outcome stems from the idea that teachers and curriculum developers should plan objectives that have no explicit or precise objectives, but allow learners to explore, experiment, and manipulate objects in their learning environment, and to learn whatever can be learned in that experience. If you look at this, you may have to link it with one of the philosophies, right? And you can see that this philosophy is not Ghana philosophy of education. Does this look at Ghana philosophy of education? I know your answer will be no, right? Or you think it is yes. Okay. Elsewhere in Europe, they have such system, such kind of objectives, ways of stating the objective. Learners are allowed to explore. They are given challenges, and the ability to overcome them through learning is what means they are actually achieving the objective. So it is not explicitly stated that at the end of the lesson, the learner should be able to do this. But the learner explores with a lot of learning experience, true learning experiences, and will acquire some skills in this case. So the attribute of expressive outcome may include the following. It does not specify the final or terminal behavior of the learner in an educational experience. It states a situation in which learners are at work, yes. So you make the situation available and the learners are working to overcome obstacles. It states a problem which the learners are to grapple with. Yes, so problems are introduced, okay? And like case study, learners learn, they find their way through, and they achieve or they solve the problem. It's desists from specifying how the problem is to be solved, Another one is that it makes both teachers and learners discoverers of knowledge. It also places emphasis on reflection and originality and so on and so forth. Let's learn the rest later. So the table here indicates scholars in education who are in favor of specificity of objectives and those who are not in favor of specificity of objective. If you look at it, you see Tyler, Taba, Hilda, you see Pofam, you see Golan, and Major. All of these, they are pro-objective school, which is state objective behavior-wise, so that at the end of the day, we can see what learners have achieved, what change in behavior has occurred in the learners. Okay, Then those against objective. We have Stenhouse, we have Hest Paul, we have McDonald Ross, we have Eisner, and we have Peters. So in Ghana, we are still concerned about objective, and that is what it does not mean that ours is bad, but it is philosophy. You see, philosophy does not necessarily mean that yours is bad. Okay, so let's move on and talk about the next thing: selection of content. We need to select the right content for the learners. Okay, so we need to decide what content the learners will go through. So in developing senior high school accounting curriculum, we look at what the learners will learn for the next 3 years, and we must select what they will learn. Okay, so we talk about what knowledge, concepts, principles, generalization, theories, techniques. Sorry about that. Okay, so in countries where there are well-established systems of external examinations, the selection of content by examination bodies outside the school determines what the learner does in school. So the process of selection is guided almost invariably by importance, difficulty, relevance with the organization or the field of study. So these are very key important things. So in selecting the content that learners we should have to look at how important this content is, okay, to the society. We look at how the difficulty level. Is it too difficult? Is the content too difficult for learners? Or is it too simple for them? So you set it at a level where learners at that level, based on their psychological and other makeup, will be able to do. Then relevant, is it useful? Is it useful? Is it that, can it address a problem? Yes. Would it meet the needs of the society? If it is relevant, then that content will be included. Then we also selection of learning experience. That is the pedagogical strategies, including the other things, even teachers are included, teaching and learning resources that we will use. So according to Tyler, the learning experience is the interaction between the learner and the external conditions in the environment to which he or she can react. Okay, so the learning experience is the interaction between the learner and the external conditions. So it's not just the learner and the teacher, the external conditions. The teacher is part of the external conditions. Okay, and then the environment where they are found. All of these. It includes the teacher, classmates, textbook, teaching, learning materials, the psychological environment, and physical and the social milieu. So the learning experience is usually an activity that the learner undertakes, mostly overtly. So mostly we will do it for us to see. Okay, activities that the learner is engaged in. So when it comes to teaching accounting, if we are doing think, pair, share, then it means the learner will have to think, they will pair with a colleague, and then they will share their ideas. So we will see it over, it will come out. It is not done covertly. It's also mostly an undertaking by the learner. Though it is, it may be carried out together with the learner. Okay, so here we shouldn't be teacher-centered. Here we are talking about learner-centered. So the learning activity is undertaken by the learner and not the teacher. But normally we use demonstration all the time, and the teacher is the one doing the demonstration. The learner usually do not come to the board. Maybe it's normally because of the time. Okay, we don't have enough time, 2 hours, and you have a lot of things to teach. Getting learners involved so much may not have, especially in our schools where learners cannot express themselves. You ask question, and 5 minutes, nobody is ready to open their mouth. Not because the learner does not know anything, but because the learner cannot express him or herself. So teachers tend to do almost everything in the classroom. The only thing learners do is to respond to, do you understand? Can I move on? That is all. And that is quite problematic. This new curriculum sought to seek to do away with that. But the problem still persists. It is also important to know that learning experiences are goal-directed, yes. So the learning experiences are meant to achieve something, to achieve the objectives. So directed towards achievement of objectives. Tyler has identified 5 principles that need to be considered when selecting learning experiences. So when you are selecting all those things that we mentioned and the activity that the learner will go through. So for a given objective to be achieved, it is essential that learning experiences are set up which give the opportunities for the learner to practice the type of behavior implied by the objective. Okay, so for a given objective that we have set, we want to achieve this objective in the learning. Okay, it is essential that we set learning activities, experiences that we set it up, which give the opportunity to the learner to practice the type of behavior implied by the objective. Okay, so the objective says that learners should be able to prepare income statement given these conditions. Okay, so the learning experiences is the activities that we take the learner through so that at the end of the lesson, the behavior we want him to exhibit, prepare to income statement will be achieved. Then learning experiences must be set up in such a way that the learner derives some satisfaction from carrying out the kind of behavior implied by the objective. Yes, if the learner is able to achieve the objective. So what you have said, when the learner is going through, if he's able to do it, he should be happy, should be satisfied that I've been able to achieve an objective. And the reactions on the part of the learner, which are desired on the learning experiences, should be within the range of possibilities or ability of the learner who is supposed to carry it out. Yes, that's what we are saying, that even the objective is what you are selecting. It should be within the ability of the learner. It should be realistic for the learner to be able to go through the learning experiences. Learning experiences should be planned in such a way that many different experiences attain the same educational objective. Yes. So the learning experience said that not one particular pedagogy is enough for anything. So in accounting, for example, when you're talking about documentary, when we're talking about accounting, we talk about accounting equation, and then we talk about accounting equation, effect of accounting equation on the balance sheet, accounting equation on the other elements, and so on. So we use different means to understand one thing. Okay, so it's not like I've used this method, students didn't understand, they are not good students. No, we have various ways of learning style for students, right? Some learn by just hearing, some by seeing, some by touching, some by experiencing, whatever. So we have to use different learning teaching methods so that learners with different learning style can also get what we teach. Learning experiences should be planned in such a way that yes, we talk about that. Then after we have selected the content, we have also selected the learning experiences. Then we have to organize the content and the learning experiences. So the content is organized such that we arrange them sequentially based on what should come first and what should come next. Okay. So the purpose is to do what? Is to maximize their accumulative effect. Their cumulative effect in helping the student attain the curriculum objective. So we want to optimize the effect of the two, okay, for the student to achieve the objective. So if each lesson or unit of instruction has little relation to those that went before, have you seen where the link is coming from here? So if you taught a unit and the first unit you taught has little relation, okay, to those that what you are coming to teach has little relation with the one you taught previously, okay, it becomes superficial because the learner cannot relate the first thing you taught to the second one. Meanwhile, it's the same subject. So that's not the best. So content should be arranged such that, okay, we have introduced you to accounting, you know the meaning of accounting, you know the functions of accounting. We've talked about accounting and bookkeeping. We talked about the accounting process. We talked about accounting, that career in accounting. Then maybe you have moved on to look at accounting equation. Okay, now you are entering into the accounting. After teaching accounting equation, you just move on. You talk about books of original entry. Okay, book of original entry. The book of original entry will definitely lead you to journals, the day books of prime entry. It will lead you there. Book of prime entry, which is the journals, will lead you to the leisure. Leisure will lead you to extraction of the trial balance, and then preparation of basic income statement, and then you talk about the balance sheet. Okay, some even introduce the balance sheet at the accounting equation level. Okay, effect of transactions on the balance sheet. Then we show you that. So the linkage, you see that there's a great linkage. But if you teach, let's say journals, you teach day books, sales day book, purchase day book, with sales returns day book, purchase return day book, and then you leave it there. You don't teach cash book, okay? Cash book, which is also part of the journal, or you don't teach the general journal. Then you have missed something over there. You have to teach all of them before you move to, let's say, the leisure. Sometimes, whilst you are teaching the journals, leisures may come in because the journal entries are posted to the leisure. So first, we look at the link even before you go and consider the leisure proper. So these things are important in organizing the content and the learning experiences. So these, according to Tyler, are the organizing element of the curriculum. So according to Tyler, these are the organizing element when you're organizing the curriculum. Taba has also identified 3 main criteria to guide the organization of the content and learning experiences. According to Taba, we can organize the content in sequence, right? Establishing sequence, it will follow. Then we can look at it, providing for cumulative learning. So this learning will adapt to this, adapt to this, adapt. So as you learn, the heavier you become in the content. So it's adding up, knowledge is adding up. Then providing for integration, even across subject and within subject, that integration must be there. You cannot have one subject that is so disjointed that you cannot link the part that you are studying. And then in the program also, business education, business management, economics, and relative maths or whatever, there should be integration so that if you learn all these subjects, you can see that there's a focus. Okay. Then establishing sequence. Establishing sequence. That's the first thing Taba is talking about here. Establishing sequence in terms of organizing the content and the learning experiences. This involves putting the content and material into some sort of order of succession. Which topics come first? 3 key questions that define the issue of sequencing are: what should determine the order of succession of materials of instruction? And then what follows what and why? What is the most propitious time to acquire certain learning? Yes. So some of the content, they may be a little bit tough. So what is the appropriate time interval to be able to achieve? You have to know all this things before you do the week by week breakdown of the content. So usually, when the curriculum is organized by subject, the presumed logic of the subject, you see, for accounting, the presumed logic of accounting, you have to know this before you know that. You cannot tell me that you understand income statement and financial position so well, but you cannot use, let's say, raw data that has been given to you, transactions has been given to you, and you have been told to follow the transaction from entry level in the journal to the ledger to the structural trial balance to prepare income statement and see the financial position, and you say that I can't do that, then it means there's a problem. Okay, so it is cumulative. If you can prepare income statement and financial statement of financial position very well, then it means you can prepare day books. You should be able to prepare the general journal, prepare petty cash book, prepare, because if you don't study that, it will be difficult for you to be able to prepare the income statement and the financial position, and then the adjustment, and so on and so forth. Okay, so before you get to branch incomplete record, if you don't understand double entry, you can't do incomplete records. So that is what we are talking about. So we normally organize it from simple to what? Complex, from known to what? Unknown, the content, fundamentally. That's how we do. And then the cumulative aspect will also come in. Smith, Stanley, and Scholes have also identified 4 such typical sequence of exposition. 1, the first is that which proceed from the simple to what? To complex. The second is an expository order based upon prerequisite learning. Yes, the one you should know this before you come to this. So that is that. The third form of exposition is that which proceed from the whole to what? To part. So you teach from whole to specific. Okay. Or you can sometimes teach from part to a whole. Okay. That approach depends on how easier it will be. Then the last one is, the fourth kind of exposition is chronologically. Sometimes I teach, if you are teaching history, okay, you will teach chronologically the history that came, the one that came first. If you're talking about Ghana's history, you will not start from 2025. You teach it chronologically from the past to contemporary times. Other principles of sequencing include moving from the known to the unknown, concrete to abstract, yes, and then near to far. All right. Then it must also provide for cumulative learning. Tabar talks about cumulative progression of learning requires that curriculum experiences be planned so that there is an increasing complexity of materials. Okay, so complexity of material you're adding on. So you definitely, you learn the basic, and then the intermediate and the other ones will be adding on and on and on. That's cumulative learning. So learning, you have learned everything, and now you are heavy. So planning a cumulative progression in learning involves planning learning experiences to create a movement from one level of difficulty or complexity to a higher one, from a more limited use of ideas to a greater breadth, and from simpler complex concept to increasingly more complex ones. I think these are repetitions. Then it must also provide for integration, and we have explained integration. Let's read that. The integration could be vertical and what? Horizontal. So within the same subject, which is vertical, right? Moving from Form 1 to Form 2 to Form 3, right? That is vertical. Okay. So moving from Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, that is vertical, from one level to the other up. So the content is organized in a concept that if you learn what you learn in Form 1, it has some connection what you learn in Form 2, then it will link up and add that to Form 3. Then the horizontal could be from other subjects, okay? Integration, business studies. You are learning accounting, you are learning business management, economics, all of these bring some integration. Your knowledge in accounting could be used in management. There are some things that you can learn from. There are some topics that some accounting teachers don't teach. When they get there, they say you have learned this in management. Okay, that is the integration by vertical. Okay, economics, there are some things management teachers may not teach. In the economics teachers may not teach because they will think you are learning it in management. Okay, so that is that. So that's so the horizontal is across various areas, and then the vertical is from one level to the other. Evaluation. So how should we evaluate or determine where we are getting to in terms of the achievement of the objectives? So how should the quality of learning be evaluated to ensure that the ends, that's the objective of education, are being achieved? Then the question is, how does one make sure that there is a consistency between the aims and objective and what is actually achieved by students? Does the curriculum organization provide experiences which offer optimum opportunities for all varieties of learners to attain independent goals? Okay. Then the next thing we talk about is the concept of curriculum development models. We are now going to look at models that have been propounded by some scholars that we should use. They serve as framework for designing curriculum. Okay, and we talk about that. On this note, I want us to have about 15 to 20 minutes break, and then we will come back. What time should we come back? Let's make it 2:10. Okay, would that be okay for us? 2:10, and then we do to 2:30.
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. All right. So let's break here and come back at 2:10. See you later. I didn't close the door. So sorry, I'm coming.
What are you doing?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
I had a little problem with my laptop, so let me let me share this with is it Della or Senna?
Dela, please.
Della, okay. Okay. You can share it so that we will follow through with that one.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so let's move on and talk about the models. On the slides, it's on page 30. Let me see. Um, 44. Page 44. Are you there? Page 44. Are you there? Okay, as you go to let me continue. Let me start so that you follow through. So fundamentally, we are going to discuss what some curriculum experts have designed as the model we can use whenever we are developing a curriculum or when a curriculum is being developed. So basically, a model is a representation of reality that is presented in a degree of form and order. So what sometimes referred to as framework or model, and it represents reality, what we think is the reality on the ground. So we use diagrams normally, or links, or pictorial kind of diagrams to represent a model, in most cases, a flow chart, and so on and so forth. So a model provides it's a conceptual framework for designing a curriculum based on the specific purpose of that curriculum. There are several models that have been developed. We shall quickly go through some of them. And one is one developed by Ralph Tyler. So we call it Ralph Tyler's model, 1949. Then we have Wheeler's cyclic model. Wheeler's cyclic model. That one was 1971. We have Nichols and Nichols, 1972. Then we have Gauss, 5. Guy Walker's model is Guy Walker's model. Then we look at Hidataba model. Now, these models are supposed to guide curriculum developers from the beginning. I mean, whether there's an end, it will end. Some of them do not end, they are cyclical, so they move in circles. As it ends, it enters into the beginning stage and it moves on. So the purpose of a model is to improve the quality of curriculum. And how are we going to improve the quality of the curriculum? It is by simplifying what actually happens in the real world to guide curriculum planning and development. To guide curriculum planning and development. So the curriculum development process is a continuous one. It doesn't really have an end per se, because after evaluation, if there's anything, you must start again and address the other issues. So it is not one-time affairs that we are going to develop curriculum, we are done, and no, it continues. Okay, because the curriculum is serving a dynamic society. The society keeps changing, and at every point in time, we are also adjusting our curriculum, and therefore it is a process. It is a process. Now, okay, so benefit of curriculum models. Let's look at some benefits of curriculum models. One, a curriculum model reflects how the learners will be assessed and types of instruments that will be used in assessing them. Two, different models are designed to assist in formulating a curriculum that will be pliable and apt for the target group. Then, three, curriculum model provide a structure for teachers to map out the rationale for the use of instructional approaches in the classroom. Okay, so let's first begin with Tyler's rational linear model. Tyler's model, or we call it rational linear model, because it follows a straight path. It does not really talk about starting all over, but it begins from somewhere and it ends at somewhere. That is Tyler's linear model. Okay, so with this model, according to Tyler's model, which is also known as objective or linear or the rational planning model, the foundation of the curriculum theory development hinges on the work of Tyler, who formulated a rationale for curriculum evaluation planning, curriculum evaluation planning. Now, in order hello.
Hi.
Hey, so you are not hearing me?
Yes, please, for some time.
Hey, and I haven't received any message from you. I have been speaking. Sorry, I didn't know the mic has been. Today, this laptop is giving me. I'm trying to share the screen, but I don't know why it keeps. Yes. Okay, please let's go ahead. It's not working now. Okay, so I was saying that the first model we are looking at is Tyler's rational linear model. This model is the foundation of curriculum theory, that development, and it is based on the work of Tyler, which he did, and he formulated a rationale for curriculum evaluation planning. Okay, so that is the work of Tyler. Now, Tyler in attempt to formulate a model which will explain the process or the processes that leads to formulation of this model. Ask these 4 important questions. Okay, and out of these 4 important questions, 5 stages of the process came up, and that is what we are talking about. So one of the questions, the first question is, what educational purpose should the school, what educational purpose should our schools seek to attain? Okay, and that is about the objective that we should seek to achieve. We should seek to achieve. So question number 2 also looks at what educational experiences can be provided that is likely to attain these purposes. So what experiences can we get learners to go through so that the entire education system can achieve this purpose, or the school can achieve the purpose that we tried to find at the beginning? The third question is, how can these educational experiences be effectively organized? Which is, how are we going to organize the content and the learning experiences? Okay, we have talked about all these, but we are talking about the models which experts have said it is the most effective. So we should go through that. And this is the first one. How can we determine whether these purposes are being attained? Then that's the evaluation, right? Remember, so right from the word go. So you can see that the first question is about objective. Second one is organization of content and learning experiences. And the second one is selection, okay? Because this one says what? So content and learning experiences. The third one is about the organization, okay, of the content and learning experiences. And then the last one is, how can we determine whether these purposes are being attained? And that is evaluation. Straightforward. So you can see the process here. Tyler, step 1, selection of objectives. Step 2, selection of learning experiences. And then 3, organization of learning experiences. And then 4, evaluation. That is Tyler's model, and we must know the stages. Okay. So for Tyler, the notable point on Tyler's model, curriculum developers should be inside. So selected objectives should be filtered through philosophical and psychological screens to eliminate inconsistency. We have discussed this, right? So the first one, curriculum developers should be eclectic, or they should be diverse in their selection of objective. Okay. And the second one, we are saying that the objective that have been selected should be filtered. We discussed that, and we look at factors that influence the objective. And we took about the filters, philosophical and psychological screens to eliminate. Objectives should be very specific and devoid of vagueness. That was also captured in the previous discussion we had. So it is basically, most of the things we are going to look under the model are things we have already talked about, but we are looking at how the expert organize them or arrange them. Okay, so that is what we are looking at. Now, learning experiences are all the interactions between the learner and the external conditions in his or her environment to which he or she can create. So it is made up of both theory and practice, learning experiences. There are some courses that you see that they're always doing theory. And there are some courses that you see practical aspect in. Accounting is one of such theories that combine both theory, one of those subjects that combine both theory and practice. And so if you're a teacher teaching accounting and you are emphasizing on theory, sometimes some teachers even make the practical aspect appear theoretical, because it's like the teacher has a question and then just solve it on the board. But the learners do not get the opportunity to practice whilst they are in class. So they have to practice. Yours is to facilitate. You are a side, you are a guide on their side. So you facilitate the learning process. Okay. So the practice, there are some aspects that are purely practicals and they must exhibit that. Learning experience should be effectively organized, and diverse criteria should be employed to evaluate. You cannot just use one method to evaluate the curriculum. You cannot just use, let's say, self-reported questionnaire to evaluate to see whether the curriculum is working or not. You cannot just use WASI to evaluate whether the curriculum. You use several ways involving several stakeholders. Okay, so you evaluate to determine whether the desired learning outcomes have been realized or the part. Okay, so that is it. Then the evaluation of the curriculum should also be formative as well as summative. How is that? When you're evaluating the curriculum, as the curriculum progresses, we are implementing the curriculum. Any evaluation we do to see whether it is working effectively or to gather more information about the implementation is formative. So when supervisors come around to see what teachers are doing, teaching, all those things are formative. But when we allow the curriculum to run its course, so for example, senior high school curriculum, accounting or business studies, they have started last year. So we can be evaluating the curriculum, evaluating it, that becomes formative. We are looking at it, whether the process that we want the curriculum to go through, whether it is going through or not. But after the students have gone through the curriculum, we can do summative assessment or evaluation to find out whether the objective for the senior high school business studies course was effective. Okay, so that becomes summative, and that one will be used for major decision making. It could be used to based on performance of schools. Let's say the summative evaluation tells us that some schools, they are on track, some are not on track, and here and there we can use that for decision making. Some scholars have criticized Tyler's work, they have critiqued it, and they talk about some issues. One of the most appearing criticism against Tyler's model is the fact that they say it is so simple, it is simplistic and mechanistic, in that it represents curriculum development process as a straightforward linear activity, something you just do to the end and then you are done. That begins with objective and ends with evaluation. It makes curriculum development static in that it leaves evaluation till the last stage, right? So you can see evaluation happening at the bottom, and they say that that's quite problematic because evaluation should probably cut through, even from the planning to the designing and everything. It should cut through. Then Tyler treats content as an aspect of learning experience. So you can see that in Tyler's model, you didn't see anything like content. We only saw selection of what? Learning experience. And then we saw the organization of learning experience. We didn't see content. So it means that he has fused content and learning experiences together as one concept. Then the model is also based on an end means approach. It means that there's objective and there is what do you call it? The process, okay, to get to the objective. So end means the way to the objective. So end is the outcome, and then the means is the process. So for ensuring instructional efficiency and effectiveness, and they think that shouldn't be the case. So Tyler does not indicate adequately the interaction and relatedness of the element, in that each element is considered in isolation, except for the one succession or linkage. Okay, so one follows the other. From this step, you go to this step, but you don't look at the linkage among the various steps that he arranged. So that is for Tyler. Let's talk about Wheeler's model of curriculum design. Curriculum design, yes. Wheeler's model. Curriculum development. Okay, so Wheeler's model of curriculum development is an attempt to provide answers to the questions raised about Tyler's model. So you can see that Wheeler is also trying to provide answers to those questions that were raised by. So it's likely going to follow the same approach since he's also answering the same question. But let's see what will come out of this model. So the basic assumption about which this model rests is that the end of education is to change behavior, and that education everywhere is the same. Is it true? Do you agree that education everywhere is the same? All that they want to do is to change behavior. The model from the foregoing is classified among the objective model. So there's objective and there's evaluation among the objective model. Objective models, because it starts with the selection of aims, goals, and objectives. It consists of 5 phases, which includes selection of aims, goals, and objectives. 2, selection of learning experiences. 3, selection of content. 4, organization and integration of learning experiences and content. And then finally, evaluation. So you see that this one has introduced content into it. And the selection of aims, goals, and objectives, which is extension from Tyler's point. But almost everything is the same. So you look at it carefully. Here is organization and what? Integration. We've talked about integration is part of organization. Yes, it's just an extension. So we keep that and keep it well. You need to have this. Now, characteristics of Wheeler's model. It has 5 phases instead of 4, which was identified by Tyler. It has partially answered the criticism on the interaction and interrelatedness of the curriculum elements. So there are some aspects you can see. Content, selection of content comes in. You see integration and organization of learning experiences and content. All of them coming in there. Now, then the next one, the cyclic character of Wheeler's model suggests that. Please let me explain something here. I didn't draw the diagram, but Wheeler's model is a model that's cyclical. Okay, cyclical in the sense that it begins. You see that this place is empty. It actually was supposed to take the the image. So it's a cyclical. It starts from the aims, goals, and objective at the top. Then it moves to the right. The right, you see selection of learning experiences. You come down, you see selection of content. You move to the next, you see organization integration of learning experiences and content. And then the next one is evaluation. The evaluation will also send an arrow to where? To the aims and goals. So it tells you that after evaluation, you are not done. You go back to the objective and then you do the needful. Then it will run through. You see that there's interrelatedness, interconnectivity among them. It is cyclical. So if you, for example, you draw a rectangular box at the top, you put objective and the aim and all those things in, then you send an arrow from objective to selection of learning experiences, which is also a rectangular box, another arrow from there to create a kind of circle, and that is what I'm talking about. So the one of the characteristics is that the cyclic character of Wheeler's model suggests that curriculum development is a continuous process. The model suggests that one could begin the curriculum development process at any point in the cycle. So you can see that there is no place for a starting point. Okay, so it tells you that you can start by just evaluating the existing curriculum. And after you have evaluated the existing curriculum, you can then go ahead and have, or you can start by selecting learning experiences and then move on. So that is what the cyclical nature attempts to communicate. The model suggests that one could begin the curriculum development process at any point. Yes, Wheeler requires the curriculum developer to work through a system of different levels of aims, from the general to the specific. 6. Wheeler differentiates between content and learning experiences, which is clear in the difference we have seen there. Then the 7th one is that the first step on which all hinges is the statement of what? Aims, goals, and objectives. So Wheeler's model is also classified as objective-based model. It is an objective model. Merit, its importance in curriculum systems. So unlike Thaler's model, which has been described as being too simplistic, Wheeler's model to a very large extent allows for some degree of flexibility because of its cyclic nature. Okay. Then Wheeler's model breaks down educational aims into specific classroom level objectives. So that's also one. It breaks down aims, goals, objective. So Wheeler comes to objective. Wheeler model does not only draw a distinction between learning experience and content, but also advocates for the organization and integration of learning experiences and content. Okay, learning experience and content. 4, the pre-specification of objectives helps to select appropriate content, learning experience, and evaluation techniques. So pre-specification objective, we have identified the objective. So we can just look at through the objective and be able to identify the appropriate content for the objective, appropriate learning experience for the objective. And if you want to evaluate, we know what we are evaluating. Okay, so that is also good about it. It did not go uncriticized. It has also been critiqued. And these are some of the issues that have been raised against Wheeler's model. It fails to recognize the role of needs assessment in the curriculum development process. You remember we said that curriculum development, we start with what? Need assessment. Need assessment. Okay, so, or situational analysis. But if you look at the two models we have looked at, we did not come across situational analysis. or needs assessment, we started with objective or aim, goals, objective. Okay, so that is one criticism. Two, the model is criticized for sticking to end means orientation. So some scholars believe that the curriculum is not end means process. So that is also criticism. Tyler's model, Wheeler's model, failed to clearly identify the sources of educational objective. So where is the education objective coming from? It is not stated. Is it coming from the society? Is it coming from the government? It's coming from the curriculum expert who determines the educational objective. Where is the source? Four, even though Wheeler tried to introduce some level of flexibility in his model by providing a cyclical arrangement of the curriculum phases, the elements are still arranged sequentially. You move from one stage to the other, one stage to the others. Like it is as a way of, there is no cross-cutting relationship among the other phases. So that is also a criticism again. So it is just like Tyler's own, where it says from 1 to 4. But this one just turned everything into cycle. And so it is still the same arrangement from 1 to 2, from 2 to 3, from 3 to 4. That same arrangement. That's criticism against Wheeler. Then Skillberg model.
Sir, please, before you move to Taylor's model,
Come again.
please, I would like to ask a question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, please, does that mean both the Taylor's and the Taylor's model are cyclical? Just that the Taylor's one has 4 and the Taylor's one is 5.
Tyler's model is not cyclical. We said it is linear.
Linear.
It is straight
Okay.
path. After evaluation, it doesn't go back to objective or aim or goal, right?
Okay.
So it's like, you start from here and then you end here.
Okay.
But Wheeler's own, it is cyclical. So it tells you that at evaluation, it doesn't end. Whatever we find out at the evaluation stage, we use it in setting objective, goals, and then aim.
Okay.
So goal or aim we will set will be dependent on the evaluation that we have done. Okay. So for example, we were having a curriculum that was existing, and then through evaluation, we realized that it was not meeting our needs. So based on the evaluation, we saw that it is not meeting our needs. It is not fit for purpose. So we have to set another aim, goal, or objective, and then go ahead and determine content to come up with a new curriculum. Yeah. So that is that. Okay. Can we move on?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So Skillberg's model. This model introduces a concept called situation analysis. The situation analysis has to do, we have already discussed that. So we looked at almost everything before we came to the specific models. So that's the needs assessment. Okay. So the model is made up of 5 phases, namely situation analysis, goal formulation, program building, interpretation and implementation, and then the last one is monitoring, feedback, and the assessment and reconstruction. Monitoring, feedback, assessment, reconstruction. Okay, so this one, 5 phases. It is also in phases. So we determine the situation, then we get the goal for the curriculum, then we build a program. Then we interpret and we implement. We interpret what has been built, and then we implement it in the schools. Then we monitor. We monitor, then we get the feedback. We monitor, we get feedback. Then we assess to see whether we are achieving or we are not achieving. And if there's the need, we reconstruct the curriculum. Okay, so that is also another model. So with the goal formulation, we know what goes into that already. It involves statement of goals and embraces teachers and people's actions and the kinds of learning outcomes which are anticipated. So here you can see clearly that yes, the objective, the previous one did not tell us the objective, where they got it from, the source of the objective. But this one tells us that there's situation analysis. We have already discussed that, but I think here, I don't know, it has been jammed. I've jammed it. So don't worry. We know situation analysis, the previous one. So let's build that. Maybe when I do adjustment, I will add it to this one. So the second stage is goal. And goal, we know we are getting from society because there's situation analysis or needs assessment that we do in the society. These goals imply references, preferences, values, judgment, priorities, and emphasis. Okay, so what the society prefers, we do. The values of the society, okay, the judgment of the society, the priorities of the society, and the what the society is emphasizing. That is where we get the goal from. Then we set the goals. Then we have to develop programs or build programs. So this is where decisions are made about program design and implementation decisions. It involves the design of teaching learning activities, which include content, structure, and methods. Okay, scope and sequence are also factors into program building. Then we talk about the design of appropriate instructional settings, school, lab, classroom, workshop, field work. All these things are determined in terms of the content, in terms of learning experiences, where it will be appropriate. Then personnel employment. We employ people, we deploy them, and then we give them their role, like teaching. If you look at what's happened in recent curriculum development, it appears this is the way they went about it. Then they determine timetable, when to adopt and implement. So it shows clearly the new curriculum that was brought, teachers had the timetable, how many hours per, everything that was done by the school has now been taken over by the curriculum. So the curriculum tells you how many hours to teach this particular topic. So you set your hours and everything. The teachers work, the teacher just determine the number of minutes he will use in each activity. But the number of hours, 2 hours for teaching, that the curriculum has specified. Okay, so which the curriculum has given each, even topics, how many hours they have to teach it. Interpretation and implementation. Now, this is the stage where possible or anticipated challenges to effective implementation are identified and dealt with. So, example, clashes between the old and the new, resistance to change, confusion, and it is happening. Okay, it is happening. Teachers are still teaching using the old way. And so they have to still try as much as possible to do that correction. We interpret the curriculum. The teacher is going to interpret what you have given to him. You have had a workshop, but the teacher will still interpret. Don't forget, the teacher already knows something, the old curriculum and how he has been teaching. So this new one, if you don't train them very well to be able to, study the new methods, approach you want them to teach, if you don't take care, they will continue to do what they were doing. Okay, so you monitor the implementation, you interpret it, the teacher will interpret it, and then he will implement. Okay. And as he interprets and implement, there may be discrepancy between the intended implementation, what the curriculum actually wants you to do, and what the teacher will do, and there may be difference. So this will come out through what? Monitoring. So through monitoring, you get the feedback. Okay. And then we can also assess the curriculum formally to see whether it is achieving or it is not, or whether it will be able to achieve or it is not on the right track to achievement. So whatever result we get to, we have to reconstruct, find a way to reconstruct the curriculum so that we can meet the objective. So this is the stage of putting in place quality assurance to ensure the realization of program goals. So quality assurance, we have it at the university, but at the SHS level, it is not something that is very clear. Quality assurance. And I think it's about time they try to work on that. It is usually done by the education directorate, where they go around to see, but education directorate, they don't go to senior high school. So senior high school academics will be the one who may have to ensure that, but one person in some big schools will find it difficult to do that. Now, this involves the design of monitoring programs. So you have to monitor, and monitoring itself goes with the program. If you want to monitor, it means you have to do some mini evaluation. If you have to sit in a class and assess the teacher, you see what the teacher is doing, then you compare it to what the curriculum is saying. When you go around, you see what is happening, whether they are doing the right thing or not. That is, you monitor. Preparation and use of assessment instrument. Yes, you can also use assessment instrument to find out how the curriculum is faring. Problem of continuous assessment. How many assessments should teachers undertake? So what will help us to know that we are achieving the aim is the assessment that will take place in the classroom. So the teacher and the student, we want the change in behavior in the student. So it is the assessment. So we look at it to see whether the assessment practice is actually the best. And that will help us to know also. So it is not just about the teaching, but I also look at assessment. Okay. If you are using the appropriate assessment and learners are getting the answers correctly, then it means you are doing something worthwhile. Reconstruction. This has to do with ensuring continuity in the process. So reconstruction, you have to come back, okay, and then there's continuity. You are always doing something about the system. So you have to go back and then do what we have to do at the top again in terms of the needs. So it goes on and on. The process is unending. Okay. So difference between Skillback and other models that we have looked at, you can see that there are differences among them, or between Skillback and other two that we have seen so far, Tyler and Wheelers. It identifies learning situation and encourages curriculum developers to think educationally about the situation that is to be changed and not about how to implement a pre-designed model of techniques of changes. Yes. So it says that the curriculum developer should be focused on what you want to change and see it change, not following teachers going up and down to see whether they are implementing it well or not. The model considers implementation as a key element, yes. So implementation has also been seen as a key element in the curriculum development process. The next one is Chaos model. Chaos.
Hello, sir.
Yes. Come on.
Yes, please, you said the Hilbert's model, it goes on and on. So does that
Okay,
mean
not as in, I said goes on and on, not as in coming back to the situation. It's about the implementation. So if we evaluate and we realize that the problem is coming from the program building, then we have to go there and look at it. We don't necessarily have to go back to the situational analysis. Okay. It's not necessarily analysis. Yes.
How would each diagram look like?
The Spielberg diagram, it appears I'm coming because the cyclical nature. I'm coming. Let me. Okay. I will maybe I'll do adjustment with this slide so that I'll try to include the designs onto it so that you see the design. But I don't know how to show you, but it is in stages, right? Starting from situation analysis down to monitoring, feedback, assessment, and reconstruction. So put all of them, let's say, situation analysis with a rectangle coming down to goal formulation, another rectangle, there's a link arrow to the next one, program building, then arrow to the next one. But as we move on, the rectangle keeps, the length keeps increasing a bit by a bit. But you see, like you asked the question of the reconstruction that goes on and on. That's why I told you that it is not about going to start all over from situation analysis. But then we can look at it from wherever we have to adjust. So there is a line from situation analysis, arrow to monitoring, okay, down there. And then there are arrows from that curve or that line to each of the other faces, okay? So for example, you can draw a line, standard situation analysis, you can draw a line to your right, go at a distance a bit, and then drop down, and then let the arrow touch the last one, monitoring. Then in between, there are arrows from that line you drew, okay, to go formulation, to program building, to interpretation. So it means that when we assess and there are issues, it does not necessarily mean that there are some of them you have to go to situation analysis. If the issue has to do with goal formulation, then you have to go there. If the issue has to do with program building, you have to go there. If it has to do with interpretation, you have to go there. So it is not actually about, it's not cyclical. Okay. Yes. And it is not straightforward, linear like that. They are relationship and they are interconnected. Okay. So that is it. I will see if I can add a diagram to it so that you can see the pictorial representation of that model.
Okay.
I hope we are okay, or there's any other thing.
Please let me know.
Okay, so let's quickly talk about, our time is almost up. Let's talk about Kerr's model, and we will call it a day. It appears we are not able to, we will not be able to achieve our objective of doing 2 units today. So let's look at Kerr's model and we'll work with that. Okay. So Kerr's model is similar to Wheeler's model. In actual fact, the elements of Wheeler's model have just been compressed into 4. Wheeler talks about 5, right? But Kerr is talking about 4. Okay, so we are saying it is just like Wheeler, but not Tyler. Tyler's own is 4, and Kerr is also 4. But there are certain things Tyler did not include, but they are included in Wheeler. And those things have also been summarized or abridged by Kerr. So that is why he has 4. 1 is objective. Then 2, knowledge. So if you look at knowledge, then what are you talking about? We are talking about content, right? Then the next one is school learning experiences. So you have your objective, you have your content. So you see, Tyler didn't talk about content. Wheeler talked about content. And Kerr is also talking about content separately from learning experiences. Then evaluation also comes in. Now, the key point in Kerr, for Kerr, the diagram is such that you see objective at the top, then the next, let's say, rectangle table on the right, and then another rectangle table on the at the bottom down there, and then there's another one on the left. Have you seen it? So top you have objective, right you have knowledge, come down you have learning experiences, and then move to the left up. So you see it's like the way across is like, but this one is not lengthy base and the shorter up, but we can look at it at equal. And then there are arrows from objective to knowledge, knowledge to learn experience to evaluation, evaluation to objective. However, there's also relationship between the others. So if you look at the way I've described it, you see that there is no arrow from where? From knowledge to evaluation. The right, the extreme right, right? So in this one, Kerr, there's arrow from the right, which is where knowledge is, linking to evaluation. And then also there's an arrow from objective, also linking to where? The down. Objective is up, what is down? Learning experience. Okay, so there's a cross like this, and then there are arrows moving from one to the other. That's how this model also looks like. So about Kerr's model, the curriculum objectives are derived from different sources: student, society, and discipline or subject matter. The curriculum objective should cover all the domains: cognitive domain, affective domain, and psychomotor. Then it also says that knowledge should be selected and well organized. The content should be selected and well organized, integrated, sequenced, and reiterated. Okay, so in the way of learning accounting, you see certain things appearing often. That's the reiterated. Okay, it links, it goes through out the course. 4, school learning experiences should be comprehensive, should include societal opportunities, school community, people-teacher relationships, teaching methods, lesson content readiness, and so on. Now, there are criticisms against scale model also. Tanner and Tanner criticize scales model on the ground that it does not show the basis from which decisions in each element are made, although it shows that the elements are interrelated and interdependent. Okay. Then they also argue that people also argue that decisions on the selection of education objectives, selection and organization of subject matter, organization of instructional methods and learning experiences, and the utilization of systematic evaluation procedures should be philosophically based. It should be philosophical. It should be based on a philosophy. It is because the experts based on philosophies in designing the curriculum. So according to Tanner and Tanner, philosophy not only serves to criticize aims and values, but also serves as a source for developing aims and values. Okay, so that is the end of this one. We can see some assignment. We can try our hands on those assignments. And the self-assessment task we can look at. This is where we bring our lecture to an end today. And we are left with one more meeting, right?
Yes, please.
Okay, which is just next week, and then we'll be done. When are you writing the quiz?
This will be next week. Like after the last, we have another week for practicals before the quiz.
You have another week for what?
Get practicals when you check the calendar.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Before we have quiz.
So we are supposed to meet, or
We don't know about that yet.
I think it is part of everything. So that's why I was surprised you said we are meeting 4 times, because I was thinking the meeting was supposed to be more than 4 or something like that. But by the time you get there, you will get to know what to do. Okay?
Yes.
Okay. So please go through this within the week. When we meet, please, from at least from 11:30 to 12 o'clock, we will take another exercise. The only reason why it's not part of your recording is that you can't just punish anybody because of network issues. But the small exercises we are doing here are very important. So please join on time and partake. I've seen only 3 people or so, 3 or 4 people who have sent me what they did. I don't know how many of you took the test, because I'm sure you were more than 5. You were 6 or so, but I don't know what happened. But whatever the case is, let's try to join on time. All right. Have a nice week. Enjoy your weekend, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Bye-bye.
Thanks, and same to you. Bye.
Bye.